What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to today's Nerdverse. We are ranking all the Pokemon I have played through so far on my channel. It's Pokemon 1 through 151. I'm sorry, Pokemon 1 through 51. Starting all the way from Bulbasaur all the way to Diglett / Dugtrio. So we're going to rank all of them from... This is going to be solely based off how fast they were, not based on anything other than their speed. I will throw in some caveats about their speed whenever I get to them, and my thoughts on them individually. I'll try not to wax poetically too much about them. Keep this video at a good time. But to start off with, we're going to go from the slowest Pokemon, the slowest runs possible. And the slowest run that I've done so far, which I don't think will be the slowest run, but it's the slowest run so far for sure. And that is Zubat at 2 hours and 42 minutes and 43 seconds. Zubat was very bad. It's a combination of a lot of things. You have a Pokemon that is flying poison. It has no poison moves, and also has one flying move. It doesn't have access to any other flying moves that are good. So, for example, Razor Wind is not considered poison type in Gen 1. It's considered normal. So you don't get any benefits from that. You don't get access to Sky Attack. You can't use Fly. So you have Wing Attack, and that's it. You have nothing else. You don't even have access to Body Slam. You just don't have good moves. It's not a good Pokemon by any stretch. It gets definitely some upgrades in future generations. But this generation, it is not a well-designed Pokemon. It does not get a lot of access to anything. And that is why it is the worst run. Next is Venonat / Venomoth. This Pokemon, it's not that Venonat is bad. It's just it doesn't get any. If we'd have done this with Yellow's level up abilities, like the moves it gets, we probably would have done a little bit better. Because Venonat gets confusion at like level 15 or 16. But the fact we don't get any moves other than Tackle, Disable until level 24, that's why we lost it. That's why it was so hard. We spent so much time getting to that first gym. It was damn near impossible. So that was why this Pokemon took forever. After you get past the first gym, it's actually a pretty decent run after that, because Venomoth has access to Psybeam, have access to Psychic, Mega Drain. So some pretty good moves you can get in. Generation 1 Psychic is way overpowered. So it's a good Pokemon. It's a good Pokemon to have. I'm just doing some adjusting, so that they're kind of even, and they're not, but oh well. So that's why Venonat had the second slowest time so far in my playthroughs. Next one was Weedle. Honestly, once you get past Brock's Gym, very fast playthrough. Very decent playthrough indeed. The problem is Beedrill / Weedle don't get any good moves. You get Fury Attack, which is I would say luck-based win, but it's a normal type move that doesn't deal a lot of damage. You don't have anything that stalls off Brock long enough for you to knock him out. And it was way more consistent just to go all the way level 20 for Twin Needle. And Weedle, once you level up to Beedrill, he kind of slows down his level up progression. I'm pretty sure if I went through and played again, I could probably get through if I just sprint to level 20. But I wasn't sprinting to level 20. With Zubat, with Venonat, I was sprinting to certain points, and I was able to progress the game. But I think Weedle, if I played through Weedle again, I could probably knock about maybe a good 10 or 15 minutes off that run by just beelining to level 20 without no stopping, no braking, no nothing. Not trying to see if we can beat the gym at this level or that level. I think that was one of our biggest hiccups in that playthrough, was going back at every level and trying to beat Brock when I should just beeline right for it. It's one of my earlier playthroughs, so now I look at the moveset and say, okay, I need to get to this point before I can beat this trainer or this gym. And I think if I'd have just done that with him, probably would have done pretty well. Oddish, honestly, one of my least favorite runs, one of my most disappointed runs, so to speak. Oddish was not very good at all. You have no moves. You have Absorb, which is 15 base power. You really have no other attacking moves for a long time. We actually had to use Bide a decent amount of this game. Honestly, probably him and Zubat are probably the two worst playthroughs I've had. Because Oddish just doesn't learn that many moves, not many good moves until later. And I learned, this is the Pokemon I learned where if you level up later, You can learn moves later. So it was not fun. But to be honest, I really had high expectations for Oddish. But then once that move pool kind of showed me, it's good for Brock. Like, he'll get through Brock. He'll get through most of the gym leaders very well. A lot of grass types will, but it's the other trainers in between you have issues with. Next one up is Paris. Paris is... I actually don't think Paris is bad. He's just a product of bad stats. But his typing really makes it so he has some massive damages. Things that are he's like 4 times weak to. Like fire. Like poison. Like ice. And yeah, it's just not a lot of things with this Pokemon that are really good. But it does have access to some pretty decent moves. You have Spore. So that in combination with like Dig and things like that, it really helped me get through this playthrough. I still don't hate Paris. And now we're going to get to the last one in the D. It's actually, these are probably F category, honestly, but I don't have enough Pokemon really to be done. Have an F category. And so the last one in this group is Caterpie. And I'm going to adjust all these while I'm talking. So Caterpie, I expected to be a little better than it was. It wasn't bad, don't get me wrong. But I just expected it to be a little bit better. The reason why I expected it to be a little bit better is because Psychic type Gen 1, you get a Psychic move very early. Now, maybe that's just a product of me being new to this. That was my 4th playthrough. I've done Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur. This was like right after that. So now I've learned to be more decisive. In these playthroughs, if you're not very decisive, it can come back and haunt you, and this is one example. So that playthrough alone resulted in 2 hours and 18 minutes. Probably could have get it under 2 hours if I did it again. Just because I know more or less where I'm going to have struggles and where I'm going to have to compensate for those struggles. So there's my bottom 6. Now, if you look at this, you're probably going to see a trend in this bottom 6. A lot of these bottom 6s are bug type. Actually, all 4 of the bug type I've played through so far are in this bottom 6. It doesn't mean bug types are bad. It's just I don't think the only bug types are great in Gen 1. We have 2 other bug types we're going to do in this generation. I think will be a lot better. Also, I think in this playthrough, I think poison type can be bad as well. But I do have some decent poison types on here. So I don't know how true that is. But grass types actually is going to be one that I think will fall in this category a lot. So now we're moving on to the next category, which is the C tier. I'm really just going in descending order from slowest to fastest. So now we're going to go to Pikachu, the unofficial 4th starter of Generation 1. I mean, I guess he is. He has his own game, for God's sakes. So he's the 4th starter in Generation 1. Just under 2 hours. Just a hair under 2 hours. Again, this is another Pokemon that suffers from not being able to get through Brock's gym very quickly. We had to get to level 22 or 23, maybe even 24, to get another attack to potentially be able to knock out Brock. So massive, I won't say massive issues, but big time issues with this guy. He was fun. Once you get through the first gym, he's actually pretty good. He's actually the only Pokemon I've had that's lost to Giovanni. So yeah, could be better. Could be better, could be worse, but could be better for sure. And moving on to the next one, Pidgey, who came in at 1 hour and 57 minutes and 28 seconds. I honestly don't like this Pokemon at all. It's one of my least favorite Pokemon. And the fact that our rival has them all the time really annoys me. But another typing in Gen 1 that is I already went over Bug. So Bug is consistently a bad typing in Gen 1. Another bad typing in Gen 1 is Flying type. Now, I've not played through with... I got 2 more birds I think I got to play through, which is Dudo and Dugtrio. And also Farfetch'd, but I think Dudo or Dugtrio, whatever his name is going to be better in both of these. The next one is going to be on here, and it just there's not a lot of range. There's flying types, but most good flying moves take 2 turns, so that adds your time, and you just don't have a lot of range. You don't have Body Slam. You don't have access to these moves that accelerate most other runs, and you just don't have that in this. Now, we'll say the next one is Spearow. Spearow has the benefit of getting Drill Peck, which Pidgey does not. Pidgey does not have that benefit of getting Drill Peck. So Spearow does a little bit better on a playthrough side than Pidgey, but not by much. It's marginally by seconds. I think I could have shaved more time off the Spearow run, honestly. And yeah, like that's another type. So look at Zubat. Zubat is flying type. These are two birds back to back. And like I said, the only reason a couple of these Pokemon are on here is because it takes forever to get through the first gym. And but flying type is starting to see, like, bug and flying type are two typings that don't do very well in Gen 1. So moving on to the next Pokemon is another typing I don't think that does very well in Gen 1, which it's actually rumored that it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be the best starter, Bulbasaur, because, oh, he does well against all the major battles in the game. Yeah, that's true. That's a true statement. If you watch my video where I compared all three of the Kanto starters, you would see that Bulbasaur does have some massive issues. And I think, honestly, if I played through again, I could probably cut about 10 minutes off that run. This was the first playthrough I played through as. And now I do believe I could cut probably 10 minutes off of that and get him into another tier, just because I'm more knowledgeable now. But as of the playthrough, how it stands today, unless I play through and correct it, that is the one of the lesser Pokemons I played through. It's definitely the worst starter I've played through with. So moving on to Diglett. I actually didn't hate the Diglett playthrough. I thought it was fun. It has its challenges, just like any other Pokemon does. It suffers from the fact that it has horrendous stats other than speed and stuff. So that being said, I really enjoyed Diglett's run. I think it could have been a little faster if I just done some strategies different. Like I just did a playthrough. I haven't posted yet, but like Meowth. And if I'd have just done a strategy I did in Meowth's playthrough, I might have been able to get through this in about under an hour and 50 minutes and hit my projections right on. So yeah, I think it could be better. And maybe I'll revisit it in the future. But I'm not disappointed in the run. It landed about where I thought it'd be, under 2 hours, about between an hour and 45, an hour and 55 minutes. So dead on where I thought it would be. It's a shame. It's one of my favorite Pokemon in Gen 1. But that's just where it landed. So now we're moving on to our B tier. So the first one in our B tier, I guess the last one in our B tier, is Ekans. So Ekans came in an hour and 49 minutes and 24 seconds. Very big surprise. So this is one of the bigger surprises that I had in Gen 1. Having Ekans come in, and a Pokemon I've never used, I've never valued before at all, come in and put in a very solid time. And I actually have that out of order, so I apologize. Give me 1 second. Jigglypuff. There we go. That's the correct one. So Jigglypuff doesn't surprise me. It doesn't have great stats. It has some similar stats to another Pokemon. A lot of people compare Jigglypuff to Clefairy. The difference between Clefairy and Jigglypuff is there's just better stats. And the same move pool, but better stats. Jigglypuff has great moves available to it. So this is a prime example. So one is you can look at a Pokemon that has great move coverage, but horrible stats, or would you have a Pokemon that has great stats but horrible move coverage. This is an example of a Pokemon that, even with great move coverage, it still takes a while to get a playthrough done. So I'd rather have a Pokemon with slightly better stats and in a more limited move pool. And like I said, I just played through the one that had a very limited move pool, but it all worked very well for that Pokemon. So Jigglypuff comes in at 1 hour and 51 minutes. And now we're going to go into Ekans. Ekans, like I said, I'll just continue with the same thing I was saying about Ekans. It is a Pokemon that I was pleasantly surprised about. I did not expect him to do well. I don't want to say I had no respect for him prior to this, but I've just never used Ekans in a playthrough. He has great coverage. He has a pretty good stab move in Acid. You can do a lot of good things with Ekans, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought that'd be about a 2 hour plus run, and we got it through at a conservative. If I played through again, I could probably knock 5 minutes off that run and get that at the 1 hour and 45 minute mark. Next one, which surprised me, but it's still, it's on this list, is Rattata. Rattata was a very pleasant surprise playthrough. Rattata has the ability to use a decent amount of moves. You get access to Bubble Beam, you get access to Thunderbolt. The problem is you don't have a lot of good late game moves with Rattata. I've noticed that a lot of like normal type Pokemon have a lot of access in this game. They have a lot of things that they're available to them that makes them a much better run than most other typings in this game. You get a normal type Pokemon like Jigglypuff or Rattata, you still have access to Bubble Beam. That gets rid of all the hiker problems you're going to have. You still get access to Thunderbolt. That helps you solve any water types you have or bird types your rival has, which are usually issues. So you get access to those things. And Rattata, combine that with like its speed and its own same Hyper Beam or Hyper Fang and things like that, adds up to a very good, solid playthrough that honestly, if I played through again, it could probably knock a few minutes off. But this is one of my earlier ones. Moving on to Vulpix. Honestly, one of the most disappointing runs that I had. So Vulpix is a Pokemon that I had to use for the first time I had to use certain things. Bring forward. Vulpix didn't have a lot of things that it needed. It started off with a great move, Ember. Started off with a great move, Ember, and it doesn't get another move until 16. It gets Quick Attack. The problem with that, your rival is going to have a Pidgey, which is not an issue, but your rival is going to have Water-type Pokemon. It's going to have Squirtle. And your Ember's going to do nothing. You have no other move to attack it other than using Struggle. I think that's how I had to beat our rival the first time, or the second rival fight, is use Struggle. And then, when it comes to Misty's Gym, you get deadlocked, because you have to fight your rival who has a Wartortle, or you have to fight Misty's Gym, who has a Staryu and a Starmie that are going to outspeed you, and they're going to not quite one hit if they use Water Gun, but if they use Bubble Beam, it's a one hit. So, for the first time in any playthrough I've ever played through as, I actually had to use 2 rare candies to get enough experience, or to get a high enough level to be able to beat our rival. For the first time in any playthrough I've ever done, I used rare candies at that moment. It paid off, because I got it done. I got the job done. Woohoo. Good. But I was not happy about it. I like saving my rare candies till the end of the game for obvious reasons. And this was one example where it was just a little bit frustrating, but the time was good. I mean, it still ended up having a good time. It still has some decent coverage, but what you start out with in the beginning of the game really just limits you, because you have no other moves you'll learn, so you only have the Fire-type move that everything in its mother is resistant to. So, especially early in the game. Now, once you get in the mid-game, your Pokemon progresses pretty well. But that early game was just very frustrating. So moving on to A tier. So A tier, the first one in A tier is Charmander. Charmander is, like I said, a solid Pokemon. I think he's the best starter in my opinion. Now, he's literally got like seconds between him and Squirtle. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Squirtle is better. I'm just ranking the times that I've gotten so far. And like I said, I'm going to be replaying through a bunch of these to optimize times now that I have more experience to do it. Not to mention the videos are kind of janky, and I cleaned them up and made a little bit better quality out of those videos. So I want to go back and I don't want to say redo them, but I just want to replay through them and see if I can fix my time by having a little bit more knowledge of the game. The 3 starters were my first 3 videos, so there's a lot I learned in those first 3 videos. And I didn't mention this about Bulbasaur, but Bulbasaur, that timing, 1 hour and 54 minutes, I played through 2 times before I actually recorded playing through, just to kind of get a feel for how the Pokemon would play through it. How it was going to be, how it was going to feel, so on and so forth. Moving on to the next Pokemon is a very pleasant surprise in this tier, and that is Sandshrew. Sandshrew has great moves early. He gets Slash at a very low level, so Slash is very helpful. He evolves and has pretty solid stats. He gets access to Dig, he has access to Earthquake, Rock Throw. So he just has great coverage for a lot of things you're dealing with in the game. And I was pleasantly surprised with how good his playthrough was. Going back and playing through again, I could probably save about 3 or 4 minutes off of this. Get into the sub 1 hour and 40 mark. But all in all, Sandshrew was a very pleasant, very welcome surprise to this playthrough. To these playthroughs. Squirtle is technically the fastest of the starters. I'll just stretch that out to equal that. Okay, there we go. Squirtle is technically the fastest starter. Like I said, the margin between him and Charmander are different. I'm contemplating making some rules when I play through with the starters that you can't use any kind of bad boost moves intentionally, because Squirtle had withdrawal for most of the game, and that boosts your stat. That does a stat boost. It initiates a stat boost right away, and yeah. So the fact that Charmander didn't have any of that, and he still got through the game with within 30 seconds of Squirtle is a little bit much more revealing of how much better a Pokemon he is. But now moving on to the S tier, which is the top tier. That does not mean these are the top Pokemon. This just means these are the ones with the top times. So first is Nidoran Female. Nidoran Female clocked in at 1 hour and 40 minutes and 24 seconds. Great coverage, fantastic move coverage with this Pokemon. The only thing that slows it down a little bit is you took a little bit longer to get through Brock than you would to get through everything else. That's really the only hiccup with this Pokemon. It has great defense. Doesn't have quite as good stats as its male counterpart. However, you do have pretty solid stats, and you have the same exact move pool as Nidoran male. It's just you don't get a level up move that would have been better to have. If we had played through yellow, you get double kick. At I think it's level 10 or 11. So you could have got through that first gym very quickly. And now moving on to the next Pokemon, the top 2 Pokemon in this playthrough challenge, and that is Nidoran male. Just adjusting. Nidoran male comes in with a better than Nidoran female because he has horned attack he gets, and he just has better attacking stats and better speed. Nidoran female has better hit points, I think, and she also has better defense, but that's not really that big a deal in a single playthrough. It's better to be a high attack than a high defense in a single playthrough. I'm trying to just make this look nicer. There we go. And the last one, which is a prime example of what I just stated, does not have great stats other than having pretty high health, and that is Clefairy. The best time by anyone, any one of the Pokemon I played through has, the best time by far, 1 hour and 16 minutes and 44 seconds. So keep this in mind that we got through the first gym in 17 minutes. That means we beat the rest of the game in less than 60 minutes. So that's how good Clefable was. Now, that's how good Nidoran female was. I think it was 45 minutes to get through it. So same thing with her. So, but Clefable has a lot of hit points. So that helps a lot. Get back to where it was supposed to be. There we go. So that helps significantly when it comes to these playthroughs. So it just has better coverage. It has just that right there. There we go. There we go. So it has better coverage. It literally has access to Psychic. It has access to Bubble Beam, Ice Beam, Blizzard, Psychic, Body Slam, Mega Punch, Water Gun, Bubble Beam. I think it might even have access to Fire Blast or something. I never used it, but it might even have access to Fire Blast. So these are the 21 Pokemon I played through as so far. And honestly, I've had a lot of fun doing these. And so now I'm going to play through the next 50 Pokemon, and then I'm going to do another ranking system like this. So if I had to pick my favorite playthrough, my most surprised playthrough, my 3 most surprised playthroughs, honestly, are Ekans, Sandshrew, and Clefable. I think those 3 were my surprise playthroughs. I was not surprised about Nidoran male or female. I knew they had great coverage. I was not surprised by where Zubat was. I thought 2 hours and 42 minutes was actually a very good time for him. I was very surprised how bad Pikachu was. And a part of that was me not knowing the moves. So I had it in one of the videos beforehand where I said Pikachu learned Slam at level 20. And my strategy initially when I started playing was to beeline to that. However, Slam is only learned in Pokemon Yellow, not Blue. And I played through with Pokemon Blue. So kind of screwed that up a little bit for me. But not a big deal. Not the end of the world. Not going to be a deal breaker for anything, so to speak. So yeah, these are my 21 Pokemon. If you've watched the videos, which one was your favorite? Comment down below what you think. And I may have a tier maker that I make for who I think was the best. And like I said, I'm playing through a bunch of these that I did early to kind of like see if I can beat the score and kind of just clean up the runs a little bit. Some of them a little bit messy. So yeah, that is my presentation. That is my video. One thing everyone for watching. If you look in here, please please follow me on Twitter. Please follow me on Instagram and subscribe to this channel. If you haven't already, check out my other videos. My most recent video I posted is Diglett and Doug Trio, and it's gotten almost 100 views, which I know that's not a lot, but that's more than I've gotten from any other two combined, really, other than like Knitter and Mail. So go check those out. It really helps the views. Subscribe, smash that like button, and comment down below what you think of this list. Who do you want me to play through as next? I'm playing through in order, so if you want to know the next video, just look at the order of Pokemon in Generation 1. You'll know the next Pokemon playthrough coming out. I just actually already filmed and I'm cut, and I was just going to do the voiceover for Meowth. And it was actually one of the surprising runs as well. Could have knocked some time off that if I just figured out some different strategies earlier. But it is what it is. So thank you everyone for watching. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell, all that good jazz. And you have yourself a good one, and see ya.